Friday, January 10th. Hello everyone, Brian here. The kids have been off for school the last 3 days because they've been closed. To the north of us, we have the Easton fire that, if you're watching the news, you're probably familiar with. And I really don't know how to get back into starting videos for our channel for this year, so I'll just go ahead and do it. If you're wondering about us, we're gonna be okay because between us and the fire, we have two freeways that will act as fire breaks. And as you get further away from the foothills, the wind, the speeds aren't so bad. So where we garden, we're in this very special geographic pocket where we don't get a lot of strong winds. In other areas, every year the Santa Anas will, where my brother lives, he's further east, it strips his trees, his fruit trees, his citrus down to branches like that. So it's very challenging, and here we don't have that extra challenge, and it helps us grow all that we're able to grow. So today I'm gonna show you what's growing in our garden. It's been a warm winter. This is a La Nina year. So for La Nina years, the way the weather pattern works, here in Southern California, we get very warm weather. And weather's a distribution. So if somebody gets a lot of warm weather, that means someone's gonna get a lot of cold weather. So in the East Coast, it's been a lot colder than usual. And I know you're coming off of snow days where if you had kids, they've been off school for 3 days. So the other thing, if you saw some other more recent updates, I've been hyper focused on working up there, so I'll take you up there to show you what's going on down there. The eggplants continue to grow, and I haven't been eating them, so they've gotten massive. And then over here is a corrugated panel that I bought. I discovered from the remnant pieces that I can kind of use them as a blanket and make even greenhouses. So we have some filet beans up there that we've harvested, and I see some right there. So we're gonna get a second harvest out of them. Up there we got a Chandler strawberry that's ready to pick. It's nice and red. And the other things I have to work on as far as projects, to-do list, will be to rebuild this thing, but using redwood. This is built with cedar, and this is the first time I work with cedar. It's supposed to be really rot resistant, but it's a very soft wood. So in this type of setup, it doesn't work well, especially since the wood didn't cure and it starts to warp. And so I really want to rebuild this because it really works well for our Vietnamese herbs that we grow in these pockets. So that's a to-do list. And then here we have a lot of the brassicas growing, and we got a Chinese cabbage. Those are the most common one, is the Napa cabbage. This variety is kilo. We got a red cabbage. We got a cauliflower here, a cheddar cauliflower. And then up there we have a broccoli. And the reason I put all these sun-loving plants here is because this is the spot that gets a good amount of sun. In the morning when the sun comes up from that side, that opening allows for the sun to hit it, and then now it's clear all the way up to here. And then at the end of the day, we'll get some shade from between our neighbor structure and our house. But for the most part, it gets a lot of sun. We can't say that about over here. You can kind of see the difference. So a lot of gardening is capturing that sunlight and finding the best spot, especially when we grow in urban areas and we have structures covering the sunlight. I suppose if you had a field, a formal field, it gets sun all day long. What was I showing you? So I came up here to show you the marathon broccoli, and we can see a crown forming. Get in there. So it's you can see the florets are still very compacted, and at this size it shows a good potential to make a good size crown. So I think that's pretty good for a winter sowing of this plant. We sowed it, sprouted the plant indoors, and when it got to about 3-4 inches, we put it out here. We have a bunch of them all over the place. but where it's less sunny, the crown's not going to be as big. This is another one here too. This is a different variety, Amadeus, and the curds, the florets are more further along, so we're not going to get a very big crown out of this guy, but hopefully this will make side shoots for us. So we'll see. And this is another sunny location. And then as far as our bitter melon, so what I did was there was a very tall trellis and it was blocking the sunlight that's coming in right now, creating shade over here. And so what I did was I leaned it over, and since it's been warm, it hasn't died back. So I wanted to see how long it'll grow and see if it'll make bitter melon. Although I'm starting to need this space and I want to clean it up a little bit. And speaking of cleaning up, there's always something to do here, and making sure things are tidy is often on the very bottom of the list. So I had a project that I've been meaning to get to, and I moved it up, which is to tidy up this area. And I put in some large pebbles because the chickens were using this as a dust bath and they would make a big mess. And so I put these larger rocks here so that they don't get lost into the soil. If you use really small rocks, they're able to kick it up and then it gets mixed in, and then you have another problem. So we have these large rocks here, and it keeps the chickens from making a mess. Other ways that I would keep the chickens from digging up the soil would be to use trimmings. So here, these are just creeping fig trimmings. I can use large branches and lay them across the soil. That keeps them from digging up. But here I wanted to make it a little bit more formal. I didn't want that messy look over there. And then on top here we have some succulents that we have. So I'll move along and show you our terraced growing area. And some of this is fenced off because I'm growing back the grass. I discovered that this year I wanted to figure out how little water we can use, and I really minimally irrigated the grass and some of it died back. And I learned a thing or two, which is if too much of it dies back, the chickens are going to scratch it up, and now I'm having to grow it back. So I need to make sure I irrigate it properly. And one of the months I got the water usage down to 7 cubic units, and that's bare minimum for most households. I think they average around 14 to 20. So as far as minimally irrigating, you can see we still have that pasture over there still green. I do flood irrigation, so basically let the hose flood the area, and I do it very infrequently, so it trains the roots to be nice and deep. And this year I was waiting for the rain, and it never came. It's been dry. So let's talk about that a little real quick. So one of the nice things about it not raining is that when I was working on here, the soil was really dry, so it makes it lighter, because as I built up each of the levels, I had to move the soil up and then move it down and back and forth. And if it was wet and it was raining, it would have stalled the project, and it would have made a more difficult for me to work, because these blocks are 64 pounds each, and I've moved, I don't know how many. I think it was like 500 blocks that are up here. So if the weight of the soil was a lot heavier, it would have taken much longer to do. So that's the nice thing about the weather. I guess the timing was perfect. This wire here is because the raccoon came up and dug up our strawberry plants. We had one that was here, but it injured it, so we have one fewer now. But these are Gaviota strawberries. And then the other thing that I want to show you is our purple broccoli with some of the ash from the fire. We grow so much broccoli, I meant to say cauliflower. So that one, I think it'll probably, with the with the curds at that size, I think it'll probably double to a good softball size harvest. And this is a Skywalker. This is a traditional cauliflower, the white ones. And then this over here is another broccoli. I don't remember what the variety is. Maybe Eastern Magic. So up here we're growing. This is the top of the chicken coop. And let me move over here and show you. This part, we're gonna put our citrus tree here eventually. And then up there, through some scabiosas and bachelor's buttons, you can see them sprouting. And I'm at a point where I wish it would rain now so I don't have to irrigate. But I wanted to use this area to grow some flowers and then use the plants as a cover crop, harvest it as green manure. So this is a nice solar panel for us as far as harvesting green manure. Get the sun's energy, turn it into green manure, then it breaks down into nutrients for our plants and trees. So we have other things that are happening here as far as soil building. So I got some lacy filet, I think it's phacelia, growing. They sprouted, very drought tolerant. It'll grow there. That is a bay laurel shrub, so that's where you get your bay leaves from. And then this is a Pride of Madeira, a variegated one. And here we have our reed avocado planted. And then also doing some soil building around it. Some more of that lacy phacelia. We got some buckwheat there, some hairy vetch in the back. So this is where the soil is kind of dug and loosened to where the perimeter of the leaves are, where the roots will start to grow. And then I'm going to slowly soil build outward with cover crop and green manure. So as it builds, the roots will reach and use it. And then this is another good spot, sunny spot for things like blueberries. And we have a couple or a few varieties, 3 of them. In years past, I would grow them in these large 30-gallon containers, but our space has changed with our addition and all that stuff. It changed where it's sunny, and the blueberries have been a back burner planting, and these are formal plantings now, so I hope they get a good palm fist size amount of blueberries. And here I'm just trying to capture the sun. This is a container of tulips we're waiting on sprouting. That row there is black barley, and the grasses like barleys, rye, they're good for as cover crop too. So gonna get that soil building going right there. And then as far as up here, it's good and sunny, ironically, but I'm not gonna grow up here because if we irrigate, we're gonna lose a lot of water to gravity, and it just goes down beyond where the roots can get it. And then we're also going to be feeding a bunch of water to the creeping fig hedge, which means we're probably going to have to hedge it more. So there's more work to be done with giving this area a lot of water. So we're going to grow some low water plants up here, and I'm thinking the apricot Sprite would be perfect to grow, and it would just get its water from rainwater like it normally does up here. So we have a lupin here that we're growing, and then some Asiatic poppies have been the seeds. When you grow one, you're going to get a bunch of seeds, so I just scattered a bunch, and they're also very drought tolerant. They're like weeds. Once you get those tap roots down, they'll grow, and we'll get some nice flowers in the summertime. So check back in the summertime to see how much of that came true. And then as far as terracing, I'm stopping here for a couple of reasons, budget, and then also my time. I gotta spend it elsewhere now because there's lots of other things to do, like change the brakes on my truck, change the oil on the car and truck, so I gotta spend time over there. So this is a good stopping point. But maybe eventually one day we can also move the terracing this way and maybe capture some more growing area for ourselves. And the last thing I want to show you is just an update, to give you an update, a visual update on how the garden in the front yard is growing. The artichokes are filled in, and some of the other brassicas like the broccoli and the cauliflowers, they're growing, but they're not growing as quickly because they don't get as much sunlight as this area. So let me take you out there. We got our dwarf peach tree there. We're eating the Robertson navel orange. We're gonna be juicing some of the blood oranges next. This is the Oro Blanco Pomelo hybrid. They're smaller this year because I didn't irrigate. As I mentioned earlier in this update, I really cut back the irrigation, so I think they're small this year. As a result, I need to irrigate more. And then here, this stump, 4 foot tall stump, it's gonna take a lot of money to have it ground down. So in the meantime, I have an art installation with some of the hollowed out, diseased trimmings from the olive tree. So in here are some bachelor's buttons. So this is my art installation. And then here is our front yard growing area. The artichokes have filled in. We got some Chinese giant mustard. This is Gai Choi. And we're after the big, thick stalks on the bottom. We got some corn. I'll let that car go by so you can hear me. This is leek. We had a really good leek harvest one year, and I haven't been able to grow a good leek since. So hopefully we'll get a good leek for some leek soup. And this is our japonica striped maize. Some of it blew over because of the winds. And for some reason, these are grown from saved seeds. For some reason, they're not making their stripes again. I wonder if I have to buy new seeds. This plant is making some stripes, though not very pronounced. And the corn, I call maize, the non-sweet ones. We can grow them in our California winters because unlike the sweet varieties, the non-sweet ones don't need as much sunlight and heat. And then we have some cosmos that are growing, and I like the orange apricot color flowers, so you might see a lot of that this year. I'll try to remember to show you them, but I grow different kinds. Let me take you to the front, speaking of. So here's another orange color type. This is Xeno, the variety is Xeno Lights, and it is a calendula. And here we have our, if you hear me pause, that's a car going by. I want to let you be able to hear me. This is our cover crop Lacy Phacelia, and we're using it to soften our border, and then also it's very drought tolerant, so we're not irrigating it. This is the drip line I used to get it started, and it's turned off now, so it's all getting water from it's just finding water where it can. And then behind it is our row of wheat. This is the Durham wheat back there. We got some wheat berries for me. Oh, look at that. I really like the sun at this angle. And is there anything else interesting over here? We got a sunflower right there. So that's pretty much it out this way. And as you walk over here, we got this pluout tree. It's a hybrid, or it's probably a GMO tree variety. It's a cherry and a plum, and I really like the flavor of cherries. And when I tried one of these, the cherry flavor came in, so I had to have that tree growing. And then next to, oh, we got another car coming this way. A few cars coming this way. Well, let me just walk and give you a look. So next to, or very close to our pluout, is a Santa Rosa plum, and the Santa Rosa plum is a pollinator for the pluout, so help it pollinate. But our tree is very young, so it might be next year before we get some fruit. Well, we might get one or two, but and then the Santa Rosa this year, because of the weather, it got confused, and it made some small plums. I don't see them on the tree now because I picked most of them off the other day, but we got like these cherry-sized fruit from this tree, and it's a neat surprise. So if we come this way, this is what my neighbors will see when they walk by of our garden. All right, I'm gonna leave you with that. We're just gonna chug along. I got some videos planned upcoming, some that I'm behind because they're videos of a product sent by Bagel Garden, and I wanted to do an unboxing for you and for them. And if you see me doing unboxing or receiving product, these are products that I would normally, these are products that I would consider buying for myself, and I like to do research on products and make sure it's something that's very useful, and I think they are, and I'll give you my honest opinion about them. So I'm gonna do that video next for them. Oh, and also I'm expecting some oranges from a friend in Northern California. They grow oranges, and I met them through social media, and they wanted to share some oranges, so I'm gonna do an unboxing and tasting of those oranges. So stick around. And I'm looking at the time, 21 minutes. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you in the next video.